social location puts us in the right place to contribute to the building of the right kind of society. Social vision gives us guidance, depth, imperative, motive, and principles. So then you come to healthcare, which I would argue is a subset of the social ministry of the church. And I would talk about healthcare, Catholic healthcare, in terms of four things: ideas, individuals, institutions, and issues. All of them stranglingly brevet, because each of them takes a long time. But the social vision begins with ideas, the way we see things. And so we talk in the language of dignity, rights and duties, common good, social justice. And that language rings in terms of the issues of today. That language is needed today. Again, John Paul II's great emphasis was on solidarity, the way we think about our connectedness to each other. In a time when the culture is very often driven by a conception of personal autonomy as a final answer, autonomy has its place and role, but solidarity has a deeper place. When we talk about the common good, by definition, we're saying you can't describe the future, the welfare, the work of a society by leaving some people out, either in the way you talk about them or the way you think about policy. So when we have this, the middle of this healthcare debate that we're in, that is so tortuous, and at times seemingly so surprising, that we cannot find a consensus that's workable. But if you look at what's going on right now, keep your eye on two things in the midst of a complicated reality. Keep our eye on what happens to Medicaid, the poorest people in the society. If they roll back Medicaid, it's a disgrace. And keep our eye on cost sharing, because that's the next step up. People who don't classify as poor, but are going to have a terrible time with access to health care if they roll that back. So all of a sudden, some of these themes become very concrete for those at the edge of the society. We begin with ideas. We then move to individuals. Oftentimes when we talk about Catholic healthcare, it gets tilted toward the institutional level because of our institutional presence. But discussions of Catholic healthcare has to include individuals. So it includes all of them. And I submit that when you think of your role, think of it in three-dimensional terms: a role, a profession, and a vocation. I've given a lot of commencement addresses at colleges in my lifetime, and I always try and talk to them about the difference between a job, a profession, and a vocation. These things are not opposed to each other, but you move to a degree of depth if you follow it through. The role is important. The status of healthcare professionals in this country is very important. The society respects you, looks up to you, and needs you. And that begins the journey for anyone who has gone through the rigorous discipline to reach that goal. It gives one status, standing in a community, in the nation, and the intensity and personal significance aroused by the healthcare debate illustrates how crucially significant people feel about healthcare. But when you go from a role to a profession, it's more than status and standing, and even important. For a profession is a quest for excellence. A profession goes beyond doing one's work. A profession reaches and stretches for equality and character of excellence every day. The social significance of a profession is different than just a job. Professions in the Middle Ages meant that a person took an oath that they would be responsible for the society. Not just a segment, not just the work they would do, they would be responsible for the corporate social welfare. And then to move from a profession to a vocation takes one even deeper. You don't lose the role, you don't lose the profession, but vocation is a sense of call. And the response to that call gives a larger sense of meaning to the most daily, concrete things that we do. So ideas and individuals. Institutions, Catholic Charities, Catholic healthcare is a major part of the American healthcare scene. And it is crucial in its contribution and potential contribution to the social system of the country. Once again, our geographical spread of our institutions are fascinating, because some hospitals and institutions are the only one in their area in places like Montana, South Carolina. Not many Catholics, but strong Catholic institutions. When I worked at the Bishops' Conference and then at Catholic Charities nationally, I would go around the country and see these pockets, if you will, of Catholic institutions where there were very few Catholics.